So Ebony, are you from Missoula?
I'm from Anaconda, Montana.
Really? Oh, that is okay, that's perfect. So how was growing up in Anaconda?
Terrible.
Okay. Yeah. What was your home life dynamic?
So I guess a little bit of background about me. Like I said, my name is Ebony. I'm 28, soon to be 29 in September. My
Happy early
pronoun,
birthday.
thanks. She, her, hers for pronouns. I don't know if that matters. Well, it does matter. That's silly, so that's why I'm doing it. I am adopted. My
Okay.
parents, um,
Oh,
and the
sorry. Did you say your parents are white? Is
parents
that
are
what
white.
you...
I am
Okay.
adopted.
Sorry, it's just cutting out a little bit.
That's a problem. That's not a problem. I could hold it, but I'm lazy. I lost my train of thought.
You said you're adopted and your parents are white?
Yes. So let's see. My parents adopted me when I was about 2 days old. So like it,
Wow.
I was an infant. So my parents are my parents. They are very old. My
Okay.
dad is 81 and my mom is 78.
That is old. That
But
So did
my
they know your biological parents then? Was it
um yes. So my adoptive parents took in foster kids for a very long time. Um, and through a series of events were able to like chat with my birth mother. And
like growing up you were?
yeah, I mean, so growing up, yes, a little bit. My like biological father lives in Stevensville and my biological mother lives in Billings.
Okay.
um, so when I was young, my like biological father, my paternal side is the black side of my family. Like I did see them like a bit. They'd come to birthdays and stuff. And as I've gotten older, the contact has been less and less um, on that end. But my biological mother, I met her once by accident when I was in Billings.
How does that happen?
I was 13 and I was in a Target in Billings, and this lady walked up to my adoptive mother. And my adoptive mother was like, "Wow, you look so familiar. Why do I know you?" And was like naming all these names. And she goes, "Norma, I'm Daphne." And I knew that my birth mom's name was Daphne. Um,
Okay.
and so then my adoptive mother was like, "Hey, Ebony, this is your biological mother." And I was like,
Oh my gosh.
I had my little sister with her who didn't know that I existed. I also didn't know she existed. But that was like the only time I've really met my biological mother. We're like friends on like Facebook and stuff, but there's not a
Okay.
lot
Okay. Is that just choice?
of yes, on both sides, my maternal and paternal. The adoption was legally closed, but my parents chose to keep it open. So I did. They primarily wanted me to have contact with my black family. So I would like
Mhm.
have, you know, some sort of representation and
Yeah.
like my culture. But I was adopted for a reason, essentially. Like
Okay.
there's a lot of issues on both sides. And as an adult who is almost, I know I'm only going to be 29, but I say almost been here 30 years. Um, I am like, I have my family, I have my chosen family, and it's just, I don't need any other like added stressors. Um, so it's kind of like, I would say mainly me. Like my birth mom's never really reached out to me, and I don't like fault her for that, and I have no issues with it. Um,
Hmm.
but just there's like a lot of family drama on both of the sides of like my biological maternal and paternal sides, and it's just not truly really something that I would just want in my life. That I've come to terms with that as I've gotten older and older. But so
You said that your
mhm.
biological dad lives in Stevensville? Okay, where's that?
Oh, that is, I'm very bad at directions. It is maybe like 40 minutes. It's out past Lolo.
Oh, 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 okay. Yeah.
Like
All right. So when you were visiting with your biological dad, um, was he coming to Anaconda, or were you going to Stevensville?
He did Anaconda mainly. Um, Occasionally I'd go see my biological grandfather in Great Falls when I was growing up.
Okay.
Um, I'd
Your
either go to
paternal?
paternal,
Okay.
or they'd come down to Anaconda for my birthdays. But I never
Okay.
really to Stevensville until I was a little older. Like I went a couple times, and I think when I was like in middle school, but
Uh-huh.
primarily in Anaconda.
Do you think that those interactions helped you grasp your Black identity?
I did not come to terms with my Black identity probably till I was about 23.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
Uh, Gosh, what do I mean? So, like, I saw, my father, and I saw he was Black, and he like be like want to have these conversations, but I was like a child, and I didn't like want to have those conversations, and I didn't get it, and I just wanted to be like everybody else. So growing up, I had like my hair's back now, but if I like take it out and fluff it, it's like very Afro textured.
It's
It's big.
gorgeous. I've
I
seen it on Instagram.
So growing up, I straightened my hair. I wore blue colored contacts.
Okay.
Um,
I'm guilty of that too. I did that in my sophomore year of high school.
I so terribly like wanted to fit in, and I was like, I'm not attracted to like Black men. I don't think they're attractive, which was as I've gotten older, just me internalizing some sort of ways I felt about my biological father and the way that he presented himself and the way that our relationship was.
Okay.
Um, but it was just a childhood of trying to fit in while being like markedly other. And then, I left Anaconda, went to college, like had some experiences, and um, slowly realized that like, no, I am like a Black woman. Like there's no shame in that. I should find pride in my Afro textured hair. I should find pride in like my melanated skin. But it took a lot. It took a lot of work on my part to not feel as if other was bad, because I grew up
Yeah.
being othered and felt very negatively towards that and was treated negatively because of my otherness.
Okay.
Um,
Could you give me examples of
oh,
like
of being treated negatively, or
just like, yeah, things that were where people made you feel like you were the other?
well, like I said, I'm from small town Montana.
Yeah, Anaconda is very Catholic. Like,
Anaconda is very big, and I was one of the only person of color in my school till probably about like 5th or 6th grade. And then once we got into middle school, high school, there was like, I think another family that moved in, but there was still, like a total of maybe 6 Black people in Anaconda growing up. Um, and so I'd get stuff like when I wore my hair naturally, people would be like, why do you have a dead dog on your head?
oh my
Um,
God.
you look so much better with your hair straight. I can't, like, Black women aren't attractive. No offense to you. I just don't think you're good looking. Uh, a lot of
Um,
a lot of nigger jokes. Um, One time they were drunk and made a video. This is when I was like older and like 20 something, but a bunch of guys from Anaconda got drunk and made a video about killing niggers, like, and then they tagged me in it on Facebook, for some
oh my
reason.
God. That's
Uh,
horrible.
but yes, so it was essentially, I was the only person of color that I knew, and people would say these terrible things or make these jokes, and I would just like laugh it off to survive, because it was me versus like a crowd of white people. Like, what was I supposed to do? Or this is how I felt then. Like, what would happen when I defended myself? And they'd be like, oh, we're just like making a joke. Why can't you take a joke? Why are you being such a bitch? Um, but I definitely internalized all those comments. Like, I was like, you're not as pretty as this, like, little white blonde girl that you sit next to. Like, you
Yeah.
do look very straight. Um,
Do you think you'd feel as alone in that situation if your dad was living in Anaconda?
That is hard to say. I have a very complicated relationship with him. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it would have made it better or if it would have made it worse. I'm not his
Yeah.
own. My sister Khadijah, we have the same dad.
Okay.
But I honestly don't know. I don't know if it would have made anything better just because of the way that our relationship was and the way that he is.
Okay. So how many times out of the year did you get to interact with your like biological father's side of the family?
Not a lot. Um, when I was young, it'd be, at least I would say 3 to 4 times a year. And then as I got older, those interactions dropped more and more to once a year, to once every year, till like one day I hadn't seen him in like 5 years. I actually just saw him this time at one of the first Black Lives Matter rallies here. It's the first time I saw him in 3 years.
Oh my gosh. Just coincidentally?
Coincidentally. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
awkward.
good Lord.
So I just lost my train of thought. But would you say that you identify as Black, or do you identify as Black and American? Like, well, I don't know if, yeah, because just for example, like in growing up, I always identified as just Filipino. And then when I went to the Philippines, that was the first time that I had this inner conflict because everyone around me was Filipino, but I was different, you know? And to them, I was American. But my mom had always told us growing up, honey, you're not white, you're Filipino. And like our entire home lives were centered around like that culture. And there's a community that we grew up in. And it wasn't until college that I started exploring that, and I realized that I couldn't separate the two, and that actually like being mixed race it really is its own thing.
Oh no, that being biracial is a kick and a half. For myself, I just identify as Black.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's completely because I think African American is too long to say.
Okay. Do you have feelings towards that term?
Towards African American?
Yeah.
No, I don't really have any sort of feelings towards it. Um, there are so many like complicated structures as to like what terms like people prefer. I have Black people in my life who are African American. I have Black people who just want to be called African. I have Black people who want to be called Black people. I don't have any like negative associations with it at all. Like, so if I were to be, dropped into, anywhere in Africa, they'd be like, oh, you're African American.
Okay. Yeah.
But I personally don't have any issues with African American versus Black versus, it's just my preference of just being called Black. I think it's simpler. But within that Black identity is also like, yes, I am African American. I'm race, I am biracial. I'm a product of two very different worlds. So
could you tell me more about what it was like growing up for you, like your home dynamic, like within like the household with your adopted parents?
It was interesting. I do love my parents. There's definitely some, my parents are very, very old. They're very, very conservative, and they're very, very religious.
So, okay, did they ever tell you why they decided to adopt?
Yes. Like I said, they took in foster kids for a really long time. and they had
Uh-huh.
um, these siblings that they had for like 3 years, from like infantdom into like later toddlerhood. And the story is the parents, went through the steps, did the thing, got their children back. My parents were thinking about adopting them, but so essentially the foster children went back to their home. And then within 2 weeks, the parents went out drinking and left the kids at home. And the littlest one found matches and they died.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Wait, what? I think I read about that in the news.
Huh,
Or was it a long time ago?
it was a long time ago. It
Okay.
was 29 years ago.
Oh, never mind. Yeah. That's absolutely horrible.
My parents decided like the next child that they could foster, they wanted to adopt. And they weren't going to foster anymore because that broke their heart. And so here I am. So that's why they decided to adopt, is because of that like event really shook them. And they're like, well, we don't want to foster anymore, but if we ever get the opportunity to adopt, we'd love to. They have 4 kids of their own. I'm the only
Okay.
adopted.
Did you live with them? Or were they all out of the house?
Yeah, no, the closest one to me in age is 46.
Okay. Yeah.
So I grew
Oh
up
wait,
essentially.
but were they're 46, so did you live with them for a little? Oh no, I guess.
Like, oh, like, I was there the like last half of their senior year of high school.
Okay.
I was a baby.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we were in the house. I don't remember that. But so I essentially grew up an only child. My mother always really wanted me to have like some sort of connection with my heritage. So
Yeah.
like I like braid my hair, and like she put my little hair in cornrows, or it's like all these little braids with put little beads on them. And she really like encouraged specifically my grandpa to like have a relationship with him and talk to him. She
Are
tried
you
and buy
really thankful about that?
um yes, I know that my mother did the best that she could with what she had, especially considering like the complicated familial relations that is my biological family. I don't think I truly understood or appreciated it as a child, because she was trying her best to be like, black is beautiful, you are black, like your hair is black, like look at the beauty you exude into the world. And I was like, Becky told me that I have big lips and that I have a fish face and that there's something wrong with my lips.
Yeah.
So it was her trying like her best, but me hearing that and then like going to school and hearing different things from my peers was really hard. I don't think that I truly like appreciated it or understood it. Like growing up specifically, like as a child, even into high school, like truly until I didn't get out of anacondas, when I like fully was able to like look at myself and my identity within the world. But she definitely tried. She loved learning how to like braid my hair, and she was so sad when I chemically straighten my hair for years. So devastated by that. But she definitely tried. She got me like Ebony magazine, so I could like look at all these black ladies just being black and thriving. But
Can
I
you
never
kind
wanted.
of, sorry, what was that?
I said, but I never wanted to read them.
Oh, okay, why? Because you're just trying to push out that
Yeah,
part of your
because
identity.
I'm like, I'm black. It's no big deal. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it was truly just like my little brain was on survival mode, and I'd get the support at home, but like being with my friends, being with peers, being in school, it was like you're other, you're other, you're other, you're other, you're different, you're different, you're different. And I just so badly wanted to fit in.
Yeah.
So I just was like, oh, these magazines, okay.
Did you move to Missoula for college?
Oh man, I've been all over.
Oh.
I first originally moved to Billings for college for 2 years for MSU Billings. Yeah, because I wanted to get away, and I went to the worst possible place. I hate Billings. No offense to whatever, but I went to MSU Billings for 2 years, and I went to MSU Bozeman for a year, and then I came here I moved here when I was 21.
Okay. And do you feel like when you're in Missoula, or well, what's the difference, I guess? Do you feel a difference when you're here versus in Billings, Bozeman, Anaconda?
Yeah, Missoula by far is my like favorite place in Montana. In Billings, I just didn't like it. I didn't make friends and didn't really like the people or like the vibe of the community. I was like, this place sucks. I just didn't like it. Bozeman was fine. It's full of really rich white dudes. And I was like, okay, whatever. It's fine. I think it's pretty. There's a lot of outdoor access, but I was like, if one more man named Brad tries to hit on me and call me exotic, I'm gonna freak out.
That's interesting that you say exotic. I had a boyfriend that I feel like I bring him up a lot in interviews, but he was my high school boyfriend, and he tried to tell me that Filipinos weren't Asian, and and we got in a really heated fight about it, like over and over again. And I'm like, so are you gonna go downstairs and tell my mom she's not Asian? Like my mom that immigrated here in an arranged marriage when she was 19. And then also like keep losing my train of thought. But Bozeman, I did a semester there for college, and it was just so that same boyfriend was with me because he thought I was so exotic. but back to Bozeman.
So that was Bozeman. And then I came here because I was in a relationship at the time. And he wanted to like go to law school in Montana and, U of M. So then I moved down here and finished my degree, which I'm not using at all. So
What was your degree?
Communicative sciences and disorders, so speech therapy. I just needed to be a speech therapist, and I just have no desire to do that right now. So
why is that?
Because I'm not entirely sure if I really ever wanted to go to grad school. I just got out of a relationship about almost a year ago.
With the law school guy?
With the last one, yeah. We were together for 8 years. And as I am like learning and growing and like learning more about myself by being on my own, I'm truly wondering if I actually wanted to go to grad school or if it was, he always said that like he proposed to me when I got my big girl job.
That he would what if you got your
he would propose.
Oh my god.
To get my big girl job, I had to get accepted into a master's program. And now I'm stepping back and I'm being like, is that honestly something I wanted, or was it something that I feel like I had to do in order to please this man in my life?
Yeah. Was it abusive or was it just weird?
No, essentially what happened is, so I have rheumatoid arthritis. And because of that, I was like thinking that I'm like, number one, biggest one, I wasn't sure if I really wanted to have kids, but I knew that with my ex, I'm like, I'd be willing to have a family with him, but it just may not be what he looks like. I didn't want to physically carry children specifically because I don't know what the hormones would do to my autoimmune disease, what medication would do to a fetus. I also don't like the idea of giving up my body like that because you already have when you have a child. So I was like, hey, I don't really like want children, but for you I'd have a family, but it just may not be like I'd adopt, we can surrogate. I just don't really want to carry one, and I know this is a big deal for you. Also, I was coming into like, I've always been very not straight, so I was coming into my queer identity more, and so I was like really exploring that. And so I think those two things combined just led to the realization that maybe it wasn't meant for us. He didn't want to adopt or have a surrogate. So he didn't want to continue the relationship. And that's why I told him, I'm like, it was a very painful truth, and I'm still dealing with that. But I knew like that I respected and cared for him enough that I was like, hey, this is what I'm feeling, and I know this is a big deal to you.
Yeah.
And so due to that, we decided to break up. And yeah, so like I said, we're interesting time last year.
Do you think you're also more open to the idea of adoption because of your experiences?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Like if I ever did have kids, I definitely want to adopt, because I would like to, if I did give a child a home. As I'm getting farther and farther away from like our breakup, I'm realizing that I just don't want children at all. I don't have any maternal vibes whatsoever. I have great uncle vibes, like I'll be someone's gay uncle, but have no maternal like desires whatsoever.
That's what my mom tells me. That every time I've held a baby, it's just the most awkward thing.
I mean, I love kids and I'm great with kids, but it's just, I'm like, I like doing my own thing and I like my body, and I'm too selfish to raise a child. So,
What have your experiences in Missoula mostly been good compared to your other experiences?
mostly,
Okay.
still very homogeneously white.
Yeah.
And I know people like to think this is a little like liberal slice of heaven, but it has definitely been better. There's still, occasions and shit that happens, but out of living anywhere, this has been the best thus far for Montana.
Okay. Do you want to stay in Missoula?
No.
No?
I wanted, I'd really like to be out by next summer, but with the world the way it is, I don't know if I'll be moving anywhere. And it's not necessarily because I hate it here, because I do love Missoula. I do think it's getting increasingly like unaffordable.
Yeah.
But it's just mainly because I am marching my way towards 30, and I'd like to see more brown people. I would like to go and get a haircut. I would like to not get stared at when I have my hair in braids. I just want to be another face in the crowd.
You cut your own hair?
I do.
Okay.
I do cut my own. Not well. I don't know what I'm doing. I just kind of hack at it. With its afroness, it just all blends in.
Is that because you haven't met anyone that you trust?
Yeah, I really don't trust anybody. I've been like burned before, figuratively, by white people doing my hair, and I just I don't trust them. I don't trust them. Also, like when I walk in to a salon, people stare at me in fear with like my big hair. They're like, we don't know. And I'm like,
yeah. A few years ago, I tried coloring my hair for the first time, and during the process, my hairdresser told me that she had never worked on a person of color's hair before, and which scared me. And then it also turned out awful. And then luckily, my boss's sister has worked on a lot of Filipino specifically hair, and she fixed it. But it was very expensive and traumatizing.
But it just says something as simple as I'd like to get a haircut.
Yeah. Where do you want to go?
I think honestly the Pacific Northwest, being from Montana, important to be like, I want mountains, I want to hike, I want to raft, I want to be able to be outdoors. So I think Oregon or Washington I'd enjoy, but then sometimes I'm like, I should just move to Germany. Why Germany? That doesn't make any sense. I'm just gonna do it.
But okay, yeah, but city in Germany, just to get more diversity.
It's just like get out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to leave. I'm not saying I would never come back. I could see myself moving back here eventually,
Okay.
but I've spent almost 30 years in this state, and I want to see what else there is because I know there's so much more.
Yeah. Have you traveled much
Um,
outside of the,
Montana.
yeah.
I mean, I've never been outside the U.S.
Okay.
I mean, I've been outside the continental U.S., so like I've been to Hawaii, but
Mhm.
I've traveled a lot within the United States, but I've never gone like abroad.
Okay. What's your favorite place in the States?
Good question. I don't know. Like I said, I really like the Pacific Northwest, but there is, I really love New York City.
Okay.
Um, I don't know what it is. Whenever I'm there, I'm just like, oh God, I love this energy. I don't know if I could live there a long time, but I really like New York City. I really like Boston a lot.
Mm.
On my coast. Um, so it's really hard for me to pick. So many things have so many great things.
Are you drawn to just areas with a lot more people?
I think a lot more culture. I also really like seafood, so coasts are a plus for
You said
me.
you really like seafood? Yeah. Um, all right. So my last question for you is what would you like to see in Missoula that just makes it a more comfortable place to live as a person of color, or just like what would help you thrive here?
Something that's just heavy on my heart right now is I'm trying to move out of this apartment and find a new one. I think, it'd be nice to have some affordable housing. That's for everybody in Missoula, but um, specifically for people who are in the BIPOC community because it can be a lot harder to get access to affordable housing, to be able to rent, to be able to like find a landlord who doesn't automatically discriminate against you. And we have so many, specifically like indigenous peoples who are so close to homelessness on their own land.
Yeah.
Um, I think affordable housing would be nice. I think tackling police brutality within Missoula itself would make this place safer. I once got pulled over walking.
Are you
So,
serious?
yeah. I was literally just walking down the street
Okay.
summer night.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
but that's stupid.
yeah, I was. I mean, they were looking for someone and someone around, but it was really scary. I got the
Yeah.
flashlight in my face, and they were like yelling at me, asking who I was, and I was like, I am literally 5 minutes from my house. Why are you doing this? I'd like to see more funding in the college going towards African American studies,
Mm-hmm.
going to indigenous studies, going towards other cultures versus, you know, white
Football.
business building.
Yeah.
Um, I'd like Missoula to do a lot more for Black Lives Matter because I've really been less than impressed, especially with the first initial rallies. Um, I'd like my white friends and family to actively stand up against racism when they hear it, whether it be microaggressions or flat out racism. Um, I think there's a lot that Missoula could do to make this a more hospitable place for people of color. So,
Okay. And then for the Black Lives Matter, how would you like to see people get more involved?
I don't know. So it's gotten a lot better since, I don't know if you went to any like the first initial rallies.
My house is in lockdown, like super hardcore.
Fair enough.
We had
Um,
6 people living here.
oh, wow.
Yeah, it was kind of traumatizing. I'm glad we're through it. But
I'm glad you're through it too. Well, the first initial, it was just not really well organized, and they were like, the most prominent rally, which people have been hearing about, is the one where there are all these white armed people, like, and they were like policing the crowd, and it was very uncomfortable. And then that's the situation where there was like a black man that was tackled and detained at a Black Lives Matter rally, which just blows my mind.
Mhm.
But since then, I know that actual like BIPOC individuals have come together and been putting forth the rallies. And I want, if anything, with the Black Lives Matter, I want people to research the events, because I think people just see like the Facebook events and they're like, yeah, I'm going to support this, and just share it wide, versus being like, okay, who's putting this on? Is it a person of color? Is it a Black community member?
Yeah.
Working in conjunction with like the Montana Racial Equity Project. I want people to do more research about what specific rallies in Missoula that they decide to, what's the word I'm looking for?
To
Support.
participate, yeah.
Participate in, because there's a lot of people out there like making Black Lives Matters like protests or movements, but it's very white based. And I think it's for people, the white people of Missoula, to do the work, do the research, and see who is actually putting them on, and actually supporting the BIPOC community members that are doing the work.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that's been just like every white person that's an ally that I've talked to, just, I mean, they're participating, but they don't know they don't know what's appropriate. And I feel like I don't know what to tell them, like what is appropriate.
So see, that's the thing. That's where research comes in. Because I've had people ask me that, and I'm like, I am, not a spokesperson for the
Okay.
Black community. But part of working on like your internalized racism and systemic racism is sitting with this bit of uncomfortableness, sitting with this, I don't know, am I gonna mess up? What happens if I mess up? Like, just existing in that space, because you're gonna mess up and you're gonna do things wrong, but what matters is how you respond when you're called out on that, versus like if you're gonna get defensive, or if you're gonna be like, oh, I see your points, and like, this is how I'm gonna do better. I'm gonna read more Black literature. I'm gonna listen to Black educators. I'm going to go ahead and like look at the space that I take in my job and be like, is there a person of color who could answer this better for me? Can I step down from this position and lift up a voice that has been marginalized for a very long time? So I don't think there is an appropriate answer for that, other than do the work, do the legwork, do the research. You're going to be uncomfortable, but I, get called nigger rocking down the street. So
Yeah.
can live with being a little bit uncomfortable if I feel
Yeah.
unsafe. So.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, thank you for taking the time to talk to me. I appreciate it so much. And I'm sure that not all of this conversation was comfortable. But
Yeah, a little bit of sharing things that I'm like, but
yeah.
I did okay. So
Yeah. But yeah, I think like having these is really important. And I'm not sure if the Zach will post. I mean, I'll edit out probably the intro
yeah,
where we're talking about our PJs and stuff, but like just irrelevant things. But yeah, I'll let you know if they do post it anywhere. And of course, if you don't want it anywhere, you can tell me too. But
no problem, as long as it's not like me pushing my cat,
oh.
or do weird. But no, I am totally fine with that. But I appreciate you reaching out. So
Yeah. It's nice talking to you. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
You too. Bye.
Bye.